Our next guest is an award-winning author whose new novel, Trust, was published today. Please welcome to the show, Hernan Diaz. It's so lovely to have you here.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here.
I have high praise for this book. Not only did I love it, but my mother Hillary loved it as well.
Get out.
Double Myers.
No.
Well done.
Double Myers?
Double Myers. And I couldn't help but noticing, looking at the cover of the book, looks very familiar to where I go to work every day.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this is actually 30 Rock, and it's really remarkable how the book is about money
Yes.
to an enormous extent, and sort of the almost gravitational pull that money has, and its ability to distort reality and create myths around itself. And one of the ways in which it creates these myths is by monumentalizing itself through buildings, like this very building we're in right now.
Of course, yeah. The Rockefeller in the name is not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence.
So-
but the book is not about sort of oil money. It's more about sort of finance capital.
And it's sort of takes place in New York in the 20s and the 30s.
Yeah.
And is that what drew you to that specific era?
Well, what I liked about that era, what was attractive to me, is that it's very sort of fossilized. It's very iconic. We have all these narratives around this era, but I think that behind those fossilized narratives, there are certain voices and certain strands of history that had been silenced, and I was interested in that.
And you talk about the mythologizing about money, and so much of it is about the people who make it tend to get to tell the stories about how they made it. And this book is laid out in 4 parts, and it's really fascinating once you realize, as a reader, what you're doing. It's a novel, a manuscript, a memoir, and a diary. Do I have that right?
You got it absolutely right.
Did you lay out to sort of, did you know you were going to have these 4 specific pieces to sort of tell a story in parts that once you read all 4, you would see it as a whole?
Right, yes, no, I did know it was going to be 4 different pieces. In fact, when you open the book, the first thing you see is a table of contents. So it is a bit of a puzzle, and hopefully the reader will become a sort of a detective who pieces everything together. And I knew, to me, it was very important, in addition to the plot, it was just the difference in voices. And that is what these different genres gave me, yeah.
You also, you take the opportunity to both tell a story from the male perspective and as well from the female perspective. And it very much draws the contrast that the female perspective has far less opportunity to tell the story the way they see it as happening.
Oh, totally. I mean, researching this book or doing our archival work, one thing that I noticed is that all the narratives around wealth are about men. It's great men, you know? There are no women at all. It's a womenless world. At the most, they have been relegated to the place of wife, secretary, or perhaps victim. Those are the 3 roles assigned to them, both in history and in fiction. So I wanted to take these stereotypes and slightly subvert them. There are wives and secretaries and, to some extent, victims in the book, but these roles are flipped in very important ways in the narrative.
I was very taken with, obviously, there's a great deal of knowledge about financial markets, how they work, the sort of, instruments that people who have wealth use to accumulate more wealth. How did you know anything about that?
Well, I didn't.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes me feel better, because I was like...
No. I come from the humanities, like a comp lit background, and I've always been like a bookish person, and money is not, sadly, to some extent, my thing. Yeah.
But you gotta buy Hernan's book, you guys.
Please, yes.
It's not like he hates it.
I'm not against it.
Yeah, he's not against it. Yeah. He's not
yeah.
gonna name a building after himself. Give him a break.
It was a steep curve, but you know what the most interesting thing about that curve was, the learning curve, was that I realized that money talk, let's call it that way, is purposefully esoteric. Like, it's designed to not be understood, to create this aura around it, and sort of we shouldn't really concern ourselves with this because it's too arcane and abstruse for us. Leave it to the specialists. And that's a power play, I think, yeah.
You talked about how the table of contents sort of imply that there's going to be a puzzle within this book. You've also talked about the contract between the author and the reader. Is that something that you always set out to do, more so in this book than others?
100%. I mean, I think that's at the core of the book. What is the distinction between history and fiction, fact and fabrication? And, you know, we learn all the time, historians tell us how much of history, what we have come to accept as historical fact, is, in fact, sort of an ideological narrative. And history is revised constantly, right? So, and it's the result of power to an enormous extent. So I wanted to examine that, the boundary between fact and fiction, and actually how history mimics fiction, and how fiction, in some instances, can affect reality itself, how narratives can affect our perception of reality.
I have also heard, this strikes me as stunning, that you still write with a pen.
I do, and I carried it.
You carry it. Look at that.
That's the pen.
Is that a really good pen?
It's a really good pen.
Yeah.
It's a posh pen.
Are you a little snobby about your pens?
Insufferable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this...
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, this is, look, it's a fountain pen.
Oh my God, you write with a fountain,
A fountain pen, yes, and it has a little, like, ink cartridge inside, you know. You can
Wow.
yeah, this is fascinating stuff, gripping stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, and over the years, have you continually, like, upgraded what kind of pen you're writing with?
No, I was given this pen as a gift,
Okay.
like 20 years ago, and it's the pen.
That's the same pen?
It's the pen,
You
yes.
haven't lost the pen.
Seth, I can't...
I feel like we're doing a weird, like, Seinfeld episode.
I know. No,
You haven't lost the pen!
No, but if you knew the amount of RAM in my brain that is devoted to the pen,
And making sure you
like
always
where
have
is the pen? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you always then have to wear a sport? Like, if you're not wearing a sports coat, where do you keep the pen? In your pocket?
In a tote bag.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, because
I have a little pouch. Do you really want to go into this, like to this extent?
I mean, look.
Yeah.
The thing is, I've read the book. The book is great. I didn't know anything about the pen.
And now you know all about it.
Yeah, now I know about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask you off camera what this pen runs me.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
And when you tell me, am I gonna gasp?
Yes.
Okay. $1 million?
$1 million. Yeah.
You guys.
It's Rockefeller.
Oh, it's a Rockefeller. You guys, Hernan Diaz, everybody, trust. Is available